Didn't see much of Xavier after maybe the early part of the game. Was he dealing with an injury that suffered?
Yeah, he was dealing with some nagging, couple things, and he's been in a good place and better place this week. So looking forward to him to be back at full strength and ready to go.
Missouri quarterback Brady Cook is completing about 63% of his passes for 7.5 yards, and they got the three talented receivers. So how does the Alabama secondary, just step up this week? You got some injuries going on, so just knowing all that.
I think this time of the year, you start internal. Similar type game when Georgia came in here. Similar type statistics when completing a high percentage of passes. I think Beck had not thrown a single interception coming into the game. This quarterback here from Missouri has only thrown one interception on the season. 70% completion percentage. Really great job in an intermediate throw game, short throw game. You'll see them push the ball down the field and they'll take their shots. And so you got to start internal. You got to look at what we do well. We got to look at areas that we have to continue to improve on. We got to get healthy physically, mentally, all those things. And we got to put a plan together and go play. We know, I think at this time of the year, every single team is probably dealing with something. Maybe a guy down or some type of adverse situation that they're going through. So there's a little bit of a next man up mentality. But I think you guys have heard me sit in front of you for a while, talk about depth for a long time. And I think what you're seeing come alive right now, maybe like an 18-year-old guy, Bach, who just had his first career interceptions at Tennessee. But maybe a month and a half ago wasn't maybe the caliber of guy that he's kind of trending into now. So we know that through the back half of the season, we got to continue to develop the depth of the roster. I think we're in a situation like most teams right now where some of these guys that maybe were not starters at the beginning of the year, we're relying upon to have meaningful reps for us. And then at the end of the day, no excuses. We got to find a way to go battle in the SEC and go find a way to go get a W.
Can you elaborate on the skill sets that you see on film from Luther Burden and Theo Weiss?
Yeah, if you look at Luther Burden, I think he's going to end up being a high draft pick. Very good in the intermediate throw game. He runs your whips, your pivots, your option routes. He has the speed on the GPS and on film to take it over the top, create separation. He's a friendly target for the quarterback, and they find ways to get him the ball and find ways to make sure he gets his targets and his touches. From a deployment standpoint, they do a good job of moving him around and putting him in all positions. He's at the field one, boundary one. He's at both slot positions. He's the move guy on jet sweep. So they do a good job. A very, very smart coaching staff, a very smart football player to be able to align in all those places and still be able to operate and function. And they have enough right pieces around him where you start focusing on Luther too much, and the other guys can go and win as well. So definitely a challenge. We definitely know how dynamic and explosive they can be and how much they've shown on offense, and we're going to get ourselves ready to go.
Is this a bigger week for Malachi from a communication standpoint because it's next man up at a couple spots?
I think you always rely on your veteran guys that have that game experience to continue to utilize the strengths that he has in football intelligence and football IQ is a strength of Malachi. So we're definitely relying on him to make sure from a communication standpoint, identifying who is in what position, who's doing what job. They move people, they motion people, they create all the formations. I think communication is going to be a big piece, and being able to line up, get our eyes in the right place, win the pre-snap through a clean progression and clean communication, and then be able to line up and do our job and play and win.
Have you seen defenses put a lot of attention on Luther? Statistically, the production is probably not first-round production necessarily.
Yeah, I think anytime a guy has a really, really good year like he had last year, you kind of go into this second year and he's going to draw a lot of attention, which I think he has. You're definitely identifying where he is every single snap and knowing what from a deployment standpoint where they're putting him, and so he's going to draw a lot of attention, and I think that's why you're seeing some of the numbers of the other guys come alive, where the ball has been spread around a little bit more to some other guys. Weiss, number one, has done a good job for them all year as well. So we're aware of all the playmakers they have, and we certainly know we got our work cut out for us. We got to get ourselves lined up, get ourselves in a good space to go play and compete and win.
When you see receivers kind of running free on some deep routes like you did last week, what is kind of your assessment of that, and what do you do in order to fix it?
Well, I think every single coverage you run, you're always starting with the 4 vertical throw game and who's responsible to be over the top. Sometimes on film, maybe at the end of the play, it may look as if a guy is in the vicinity of a guy. Well, he's supposed to be there and be on top. Well, you got to know the entire coverage concept, how you're pushing coverages and who's really supposed to be there. Ultimately, we just need everybody to do their job, and I think staying on the upfield shoulder, staying on the deep on the upfield shoulder routes and winning in the deep part of the field, something we got to continue to emphasize and put an emphasis on. And ultimately, we got to erase over the top and big shots over the top. So, it's a piece of the offense. It's a piece of what people are trying to do. You got to stop the run. You got to win situational football. You got to win in the deep part of the field. You got to set edges. You got to make sure they kick the ball in the red zone. And winning in the deep part of the field is a big part of the what an offense is trying to do. Something we got to continue to take away.
Would you say schematically maybe those deep shots are something that offenses think they're invited to take because maybe other things are taken away?
Well, I think if you're playing post safety spacing sometimes, and it's a lot of people on film right now, a lot of who they are is very evident. So if you're seeing some of these zone situations where people say, well, how can I get a guy up the seam maybe, and we're always combating, trying to find ways to combat that, how we're leveraging routes, how we're staying over the top of things. So we know copycat things will show up at this time of the year. A lot of September football, when you come out of training camp, you're using rules. People are still trying to figure themselves out. People are trying to figure each other out. When you get 7 and 8 games in, there's a lot of video evidence of things. And so, copycat plays will come alive. And how do we combat certain things that maybe were a hole or a leak or something that we gave up over the top or in a run gap or wherever they may be. And we got to put things to bed. So, offense is going to say now, okay, well, they've taken care of this issue. How do we attack them in a different way? So it's a back and forth. It's a chess match, and we got to continue to, show multiple variations of coverage on the back end and make it as difficult as possible for quarterbacks to find ways to get the ball over the top.
When you get to moments like this where there's been a few losses or maybe the external noise is kind of getting loud, is that where having been a head coach is helpful for you?
I remember at one time at Buffalo, we started the season off at 0-3. We had a tough loss against a really good Coastal Carolina team, and how do you you're 0-3. You started the season off tough, and we come back and we're able to rattle off I think 6 straight wins and get ourselves different league, different scenarios. But you can learn from the poise that you have to have in adverse situations. Really what comes alive is the DNA of who you are. And so you lose a tough game on the road to Tennessee. There's lessons to be learned through every single thing that we do. Ultimately, what's the objective? We're trying to play our best football as the season goes along, build depth, continue to build the growth of our roster, continue to develop the depth of our roster, put our players in a position to be successful. And on game day, it's about being game ready and putting yourself in a position to go win. Every other thing that doesn't really involve that is noise and distractions. Now, they can be real, and so the mental toughness piece is, can you block out things that decrease our chances of winning and focus on what it takes to win? So you got to focus on doing our job. We got to focus on the trust that we have to have, that if a guy's supposed to be in a certain position, make sure he's there. And us as coaches, getting our guys focused on the job at hand, the job at task. This week it's Missouri homecoming game at home, and we got to find a way to go get a W.
But you were a little backpack off of that, but you're talking about it's back half of the season, morale is getting a little low, players are getting tired. What are you and the coaching staff doing to keep that morale high and getting ready for this week?
Yeah, I don't know about the morale piece. I mean, I just think right now it's just football's hard. Football's hard, and so when you go through difficult things, right, you got to push, you got to go, and the only way I know how to really grow your toughness is how do you maintain a really good mental space and focus on what it takes to win. It really is that difficult and that easy at the same time. How you handle the hard things through October, through November is really gonna really be the difference. If it was an ability thing, they wouldn't be here. We have the ability, so we got to make sure we're focusing on making sure we're doing our job, making sure we're focusing on the details, fundamentals and technique and scheme, what to do, how to do it, and why to do it, and going out there with a chip on your shoulder, a competitive edge to go out there and play our best football as we get into November.
Your question on maintaining, what have you liked about this team and what have they maintained this whole season?
I think a great question. I think our guys keep showing up. You know, going on the road at Tennessee, we didn't get the end result that we wanted, but we certainly gave ourselves a chance. You come away, box interception. Malachi has an interception. There's a ton of great moments, a ton of guys competing their butt off. You know, Keon pushing through what he had to push through to show how much he loves this team, how much he loves this program, how much he loves Alabama, and he's out there competing. Damani Jackson. We got so many guys that are giving every single thing that they have. It's really not hard, you know, to look each other in the face and know we have each other's back. You know, we can't be a prisoner of any one moment. You know, so we deal with a difficult situation, and the strength and the really identity of who we are is going to really still be told throughout the last 5 games and the last back half of the season, and what we can make of this team and what we can do coming down the stretch. So, you know, we can't be a prisoner of an end result. We got to stay focused on our process. We got to detail our work. We got to do what we have to do throughout the week, our film watching plan. It really is focusing on your process and your plan, and then getting yourself game ready on Saturday to go out there and play your best football. We got a locker room full of guys that have really been committed and shown the strength and the togetherness of pushing through a lot of stuff through this season. So I'm proud of where we are. I'm proud of the guys. We're going to fight our butt off to get 1-0 one more week, and then we'll get to our bye week and see what we got to do moving forward.
Thank you, Coach.